Today we're going to pour a concrete step to keep water from flooding into Charlie's basement. Rainwater sometimes pools in Charlie's backyard here and flows into the basement stairwell. We're going to pour an extra raised step to replace the sandbags that he's been using. We started by removing just enough dirt to allow us to add some rocks for drainage and build a mold for the concrete. I wanted to attach the new step to the other step and the surrounding walls to keep it in place, so I installed a couple concrete anchors. This should hopefully keep the step from moving over time. To help with the drainage, we added a couple bags of gravel and tamped it down. I used my circular saw to cut down a 2x8 that we're going to be using for the mold, and we attached the pieces together with screws. We will level everything out later, so don't worry about that yet. So looking at the water problem again here, Charlie has a drainage system in the backyard from a previous owner. However, it does not move enough water, so it still can flood sometimes up to an inch or two. And while solving that problem would be the ideal longer-term solution, this step is a good short-term mitigation since this one drain here at the bottom of the steps removes all of the water via a sub pump. If it gets clogged or overwhelmed for whatever reason, the water can flood into his finished basement. Okay, back to the build. We measured the length of the back frame piece off of the current step, and then we drew the level cut line using an actual level. This is since the steps themselves are not perfectly square. We made sure to get a really nice snug fit since this is going to help us keep things in place during the pour. We added a couple pieces of rebar for extra strength, and while I forgot the right wire to connect them together, we had some supports to hold them up in the concrete. If I did have wire, I would have also attached them to the anchors. We added a tension support on the back piece, which is really snugly fit to help keep it in place. If I did this again, I would have also added some horizontal supports like this to keep the back piece from warping when the water hits it. We screwed a few supports across the top and then drove in some stakes to hold the front section in place. With the mold done, we mixed up the first batch of concrete. We made this one with a bit more water so it was runny and would get into the gravel a little bit better and get a nice base, but the rest of the bags we used less water so it would be a little bit more like porridge and would have extra strength. As we added them, we kept pushing down the concrete into all the corners to make sure that we didn't get too many bubbles. About halfway through, we realized that we were going to be about a bag short, so Charlie ran off to get another one, and luckily the home improvement store is only about 20 minutes away. Once he got back, we added the last bag and used a trowel and a scree to flush up the top. We added a few more stakes on the front to keep everything in place. We definitely should have done this ahead of time, but better late than never. After we let the concrete cure for a little bit, we removed the top supports one by one and cleaned up those spots with a trowel. After a little bit more curing, we repeated that process and added a broom finish. We let everything cure for 2 full days, keeping everything covered with plastic and also moist. And now the satisfying part, we removed the mold. Next, I used an angle grinder to soften the edges so that you don't wreck your shins on there, and it also will keep it from chipping if you're stepping on that spot. You can also use a specialty trowel for this if you have one, but we didn't, so this seemed to work pretty well too. And after a little cleanup, we were done. This is really my first major concrete project, so if you have tips or tricks and you're a pro at this, definitely leave me some comments below and let me know how to improve. But I think it's going to do a pretty good job for keeping the water out. If you enjoyed the video, definitely give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. All of that really helps the channel, and I appreciate the support. Well, that's it for today. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, leave them below and I'll get back to you. I'll also leave a couple links to different types of tools I use below. If you buy through those links, it helps support the channel. Anyway, that's all for today. Thanks again. Stay safe. See you in the next episode.